Welcome to the Board Game Snobs podcast. Critically harsh reviews with a touch of class.
Welcome to this ain't the Board Game Snobs podcast.
Yes,
this
it is
not our 100th. Is it?
It is a Board Game Snobs podcast.
Yeah, but it's not the original.
It's me and you together.
It's not OG.
So does it not count if we're not physically together?
Yeah, doesn't count.
Together.
This is just
and
me.
And me
How about
and you. Together
See,
as one of me.
Are you done? Oh. The only time I can talk is in between your drinks. The only time I get a word in edgewise.
There must be quite a bit of time in between drinks. That's all I'm saying.
You just walk all over me and interrupt me at every turn. I can't even complain.
I have to interrupt you, or else you won't shut up.
Be sure and release this before the 27th of March, because that is the
unfortunately, you're about a month late.
Of April. I'm sorry. I'm
Marty, we're going back to the future.
It's been a rough time. It's been a really rough time. I ain't gonna lie. But the reason is because there's a Kickstarter going on.
If you're not gonna lie, you must like big butts.
I like big butts, and I cannot lie. Okay. But the thing that I like more than big butts is Kickstarters.
There you go.
And I'm having a hard time not. I haven't bought any board games this year so far, really. And
me neither. I made that resolution, goal, whatever you want to call it, to not buy any games. Well, that's not it. I did, and I haven't bought any big games. I've bought 2 small card games. Does that count? No, it don't count. I think if it's $20 and below, don't count. I bought The Crew, which me and Sade discussed, and I bought what the crap else did I buy?
Must not have been any good if you can't remember.
My memory is legit shot.
Well, that's because you don't have enough thiamine. Oh, the alcohol depletes thiamine.
What about Alvin and Theodore? Thiamine, Alvin, Theodore?
I get it. That was not funny.
What is thiamine?
Nobody really liked the Chipmunks.
No.
I really don't think anybody
The only
did.
Chipmunks I liked was Chip and Dale, Rescue Rangers.
Not the strip joint. The strippers, the male strippers, the Chip and Dale dancers. I said they're going, what? Where are you going with this?
Only if it's Chris Farley and Patrick Swayze.
Oh, everybody loves Chris Farley and Patrick Swayze. That was some greatness. You gotta love the fact that they were able to pull that off.
Chris Farley was just, oh my God, I miss that guy. When he was doing that one skit where he's eating those fries, he's eating fries with Adam Sandler, and they're all like, they're supposed to be women, and he goes, these fries are so good. Adam Sandler says, I thought you were on a diet. Leave me alone, I'm starving. But it's just his face when he do it. These fries are so good. Chris Farley. Nobody can imitate him. No, there's no Chris Farley of our time.
You're the closest one we have. You're the closest one we have.
You flatter me. Is it because I'm physically comedic?
Yeah, pretty much. You're physically comedic. That's a good saying. You're a fat guy and a little podcast. Get that one? That was that was Tommy Boy, wasn't it?
That's true. But I would venture to say I'm not the only fat guy in a podcast.
Do you think that's...
I do, on a regular basis.
You've derailed me so much here. That podcasts are appealing to people who have girth because of it being a passive Because it's a passive way of getting their thoughts out without people having to look at them. Do you think that like promotes people who generally would not be very vocal and outstanding speakers, but yet you put a microphone in front of them, they have some anonymity?
That is literally, I mean, that's like a phrase of radio. You have a face for radio. That's like you've heard that before.
I've heard that. I've said that, but that's not my point. My point is,
it applies to podcasting though. It's like this person, if you were to view him, like he wouldn't be a newscaster. He's not going to be a movie star, but he's got a good voice. So you subtract that because the world is shallow and people like to see pretty people. That's why JFK was elected, right?
What? What? Where did that come from?
Wait, you the historian have never heard that?
A JFK was elected because he was pretty?
Yes.
I know. I thought it was his foreign policy. I didn't know. What? Tell me about this, Mr. Historian.
Y'all contract I know for you. I can't do a Boston accent, whatever that is.
Nobody can do a Boston accent.
It was like they were saying that he was like the beginning, because like he was the first president elected, I think, during like the boom of TV, so people could see him, and he was a good-looking man. Thus, that swayed the vote. There's been studies done where people just automatically tend to trust or view people as, in a leadership role due to them being tall and good looking.
The tall thing is correct. There's a lot of people they've done studies about that. People who are tall get paid more.
Thus, John Krasinski is in charge of the world.
Is he making sure everybody's happy? John Krasinski, he's a talented man. But I must say that since we're getting derailed, I was forced to watch him as Jack Ryan.
Yeah. Because
my wife watches every spy show ever. And I was not impressed. That was very boring.
Really?
Very boring. Yes, it's very cliche.
I think I watched like the first 4 or 5 episodes, and I was that's always a thing to me. Like if I make it through 4 or 5 episodes and I still didn't finish the season, apparently I wasn't interested. It didn't do enough to make me like, oh my God, I got to see the next episode. But I don't give that to him. I mean, I like him.
No. Don't get me wrong. He's good.
For me, it was just the story.
Yeah, it's just a story. He's good. He's really good. But yeah, the actual writing was awful, just awful. There was a bad guy in one season who had like a messed up face or eye. Now, mind you, I was watching this with my wife, so I wasn't paying much attention. But he had like a messed up eyeball or face, and literally, I swear, in one scene, they accidentally reversed the eye. And it was like he was messed up on the left side, and then like in one other scene that they went in, it was on the right.
Maybe there was like a mirror universe or something.
Hard merge. And spoiler alert for anybody who has watched Star Trek Discovery Season 1. Have you watched Season 1?
No, speaking of shows, I watched like the first maybe even 7 episodes of, and I didn't go back.
I made the mistake of having to, I'll get into some more stuff here, but I ended up having CBS All Access because I wanted to watch Picard, which I watched all of Picard, which we'll talk about here in a second. But after I watched Picard, I hadn't watched Discovery. I watched a few episodes and then realized, to my horror, that it was 15 episodes long.
15?
15.
Oh, I thought it was 10.
I powered through, and I'm just going to let you watch it. If you get a chance to watch it, I'm hoping the second season is better.
With that review, I'm not anxious to do it.
Well, what the thing is that I've never, again, few shows that have this much potential, but yet get so bogged down in trying to tell a story that nobody cares about.
Are they trying to tell a story, or are they trying to like make some sort of statement?
No, I know everybody was saying, I know a lot of people said that, I know a lot of people were going on about how it's trying to make a statement or something. I found that
I don't know what the statement is, but I'm just saying sometimes there's shows that try so hard to make some sort of political, social statement. It's like, where's the show? Why are we going to this weird direction? I'm watching Star Trek, which Star Trek, I understand historically was a socially aware, conscious show. Like it was the first in many fields in that way.
It had a Russian in it.
Oh,
I mean, come on. I mean, that was a big deal back in the 60s and 70s to have a Russian pilot.
Nuclear vessels.
Huh?
Nuclear vessels.
Nuclear vessels, yes. And he did a great job. But anyways, I'm gonna let you watch Discovery and then I'll get back at you. Or I'll just talk about it at some other time because I want to rant about Picard. I've only got enough energy to rant about Picard.
Okay.
So let me tell you about Picard. You've watched Picard, right?
Yeah, hold on just 1 second. All right, keep going.
All right, you go do what you got to do.
I don't want to miss what you're going to say because I want to say what I want to say.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll talk to our fans while you're gone.
I'm sure I'm going to get dragged in the mud here in a second.
No, I'm not. Okay, I'm not. Bye. Go close. Go do what you got to do. I'll be right back. All right. So Gabby's gone. We had an email from a Mr. Nathan Evans who basically discovered our podcast and started listening. And he mentioned our episode 63 and all our bad horse jokes. I'm going to have to go back and listen to that episode. I don't remember any bad horse jokes. They were all great if I remember. He made an Instagram account just to follow us. Thank you, Nathan. Although I know how Instagram is. I asked Nathan, how did he come to find us? He says, I found you guys by pure luck because of the quarantine going on. I was going through my games to see if there were some I could try to relearn and play with the family. TI version 3 had been sitting on my shelf for 4 years and never finished learning it. I always known it was heavy and never intended to play it with the family. I wanted to take some more time with it just in case I felt like teaching it to friends. I generally work alone. I am an assistant winemaker and cellar master in training at a winery in Idaho. I'm very interested in that. So this is a viticulturalist, a winemaker, and cellar master. I want to be a cellar master. That just sounds like somebody you're in charge of the underground room for which they age wine.
Mm.
You're back, I see. I'm reading an email from Mr. Evans.
Oh, okay.
He says, I figured you'll have to read it because I've been responding to this email back and forth all day. He says, I figured I would search for a board game podcast that might help me explain the game. I saw your podcast and read reviews, and I found the episode that TI4 was mentioned in. I gave it a shot. I learned nothing new about TI4, but quite enjoyed listening to the whole episode.
I'm sure we mentioned it in passing, though.
I'm sure we mentioned it. Well, good for you, Nathan, Mr. Cellar Master Assistant. He's the assistant to the Cellar Master in training.
What's a cellar master?
It's the person who's in charge of the cellar. So I'm assuming that that's where they store the wine for it to be aged. And if wine is anything like, man, I don't know if I even want to say this because I don't know if this is even halfway correct. But I had a buddy
very finely.
I had a buddy who was a brewmaster, and he talked about elevation and storage and temperature and how that was such a like where you were at, like in terms of your elevation where you were brewing the beer made a difference.
Oh, that's why Coors Light's so big into the Rocky Mountains.
Well, yeah, it's like German Riesling. I'm saying that wrong, I'm sure, but like northern
Michael Kiesling?
German. Northern German grapes. Northern German. Yeah, Northern German grapes and Riesling were like a thing. And I got into drinking that type of wine back when I was a wino before I switched to whiskey.
I have discovered I need like in this a stay-at-home fashion, where everybody's become alcoholics basically.
Yes.
You're powering through your backlogs of what's in the very back of your liquor cabinets. I said I need a plethora. Like all I have is whiskey. I told my wife, I was like, I will. but I can't just drink whiskey all the time. Like I need, a beer or some wine or maybe a gin tonic every now and then or a martini. Like all I have is whiskey. I need to go to the liquor store, make a run, which I saw you did.
I did. And I got a staple of mine. I enjoy rum. Rum was really the first
meaty
real alcohol that I enjoyed. And I bought a very cheap, probably the cheapest bottle of rum that I like is at Kenichi. I normally buy the XO, which is like $30 a fifth.
Executive officer.
Yes. Well, they have a reserve that is a whopping $18 a fifth.
Wow.
I thought this cannot be good. It certainly can't be good. And I am very impressed. This
and
is
you're
my
like,
new
you
house.
know what? Good enough.
This is my new house rum. This is my new. I mean, it mixes
the more
well.
you drink it, the better it tastes.
I'm drinking it straight right now. It's great.
There you go.
I am sold on Kenichi. I have not bought the most expensive bottle. They've got a step up from the XO. It's not the Captain.
Is it
it's like
$27 whole dollars?
I don't. Yeah, it's up there. It's pricey.
This is our higher tier Kenichi. You're used to drinking the $18 version. We have this one here. It is $27.
It was aged in plastic bags and flavored with Equate brand honey.
Flavored with anxiety. Speaking of anxiety, who was it? Somebody on our Facebook group.
We got a Facebook group.
Sorry, dadgummit. It was.
I'm looking it up now. Go ahead.
It was one of the regular commenters. Yeah, if I had it pulled up. Anyway, he said, I asked the question, like, what sort of, we've been doing all kinds of podcasts. We're recording by ourselves. I'm recording with Sade. We've done some interview. We did 2 interviews. So we've kind of hit the whole plethora of different ways we can do this. I said, what do y'all prefer? Or do y'all just like having something to listen to? Well, this guy says, he said he's like the class, me, you, and Enrique. He said, is it just me or can everyone hear just a hint of sadness in the separated podcast? The quarantine podcast, he says, I sense a hint of sadness. I was like,
it's true.
It's true. It's not the same.
I can't see your face.
Well, get a camera.
I have a camera, but I don't want you to see my face.
Why?
Because I don't want you to see the distress I have in my
Jerry, when did you go gray?
To start looking pretty bad. I am kind of nervous. Oh, so the reason this is topical for 2 things. One, this is something that's important. PAX Viking is on Kickstarter. PAX Viking, the 2nd edition of PAX Renaissance and Conflict, which is the module for High Frontier, is all on Kickstarter and ends April the 27th, I believe. It's already funded, and I'm almost so close to pulling the trigger on it because I remember our good friend Dan Thoreau really liked PAX Renaissance.
Oh.
And they've got the 2nd edition, and it looks beautiful.
Peace out, bro. Hey, I read somewhere that the higher the voice, like the more inclined people are to listen.
Is that true? I don't know. Is that true? Is that the case?
I heard that somewhere, and I listen to lots of unreliable resources, so that's highly possible.
Did Enrique tell you that?
Huh?
Did Enrique tell you that?
It was Enrique's Wikipedia page.
Well, maybe that makes sense because isn't that why all the was it not the singers that were eunuchs that had that high pitched voice? What was that called? Not Sopranos.
Alto?
That's the HBO special. It's the
I don't know. I don't know what you're
Dan would know. Dan, not because Dan knows eunuchs, but Dan knows about history. And they used to do that. They used to castrate people to keep their voices high. Perhaps that's. But what
is that real? It's like I always thought that was just like you got kicked in the nethers. Oh, your voice goes high.
No.
That's true.
Yes, that's true.
Are you reading Enrique's Wikipedia page too?
No, I'm reading history. You didn't know that?
Don't act so. Was that in the school books? No.
I'm
Look,
pretty sure
I
it was.
stopped reading in school.
Chapter 4, The Story of Eunuchs.
If it wasn't in the social studies book, I didn't read it. Or it was sci-fi. Was that sci-fi?
You knew that JFK was pretty, but you didn't know about eunuchs.
Well, come on. Everybody knows JFK was pretty. He's classic.
He was a handsome man. Okay, so there's that. My other topical thing is that I'm on the COVID team at work now, meaning that we have a lot of community spread of the COVID. Not a lot by any means, but we're taking care of people that are at home from the hospital with COVID or not sick enough to be in the hospital. And so I'm on that team of having to go into people's homes that have the virus.
So how many do you have?
In our area, we have, let's see, I've got 5 counties.
Oh, I forget you're all over the area. I was about to say, because you said y'all just had like your first case where you live.
Yeah, so we just had our our first case in the county, but the surrounding counties around here have got several cases. So anyways, so I'm being super careful and junk like that. But besides that and working.
So you're not going to come see me anytime soon?
Oh, no. It'll be all right.
At least 2 weeks.
It'll be another month before all this mess is over.
Unfortunately.
So
in the meantime, sadness prevails. Am I right?
I'm not sad. I'm enjoying myself.
Me neither.
As I crunch on the ice of my cheap rum at 3:30 in the afternoon.
Day drinking. Where would I be without you? There's a group of people that are like, I'm good. I've been social distancing for years. Ha ha ha. Then there's another group of people that are like, they're devastated because they can't go out, hang out, and do all the things they used to do.
I'm at home shipping champagne, except without the sham. Get it? Pain? I'm in pain.
I get you.
I'm hurting because I haven't seen Enrique.
If only you could see my face.
If only you could see. I haven't seen Enrique in forever. I don't know if Enrique's even alive.
I never thought I would say this. I miss Enrique.
Oh, no. Don't say it. Don't say it.
I miss the little weird guy. I miss him.
I know. I wonder, is he still, I miss him biting his fingernails and eating them. I miss the awkwardness of him always drinking Dr. Pepper slightly warmer than the room temperature with no ice.
He's our special
that weird
little boy.
Smell that he has. That's kind of like, I don't know. It's like an old cheese.
Like mildew.
It's like a cheese smell about him. There's a lot about him.
But I'm like in between. Like as the older I've gotten, the more withdrawn I've gotten anyway. So no, correct. I'm not big about going out and hey everybody, hey. But I do miss the people that I do associate, which is you and Mike and Crystal outside of my home. Deej and Char. There's about 5 people. But that's it. That's all I miss. But I also miss them greatly because, like Mike and like I said, every weekend we should do something. And so, yeah, that sucks.
That's weird because I was telling my wife, besides her and the kids, which of course I'm here at home with them, the only other people Daddy. I associate with is really
you're home, but yet you're not home, Daddy.
They're not here right now.
There's a look in your eye as you stare off into the distance. If only you held me as much as you do your whiskey glass.
Stop it with this weird orphan British child voice. I want to talk about Picard.
Oh, let's talk about something else besides our pain.
Yes. I'll tell you what. I was so excited when I heard that Picard was coming back just because I thought it would be this. All right. So there are times when nostalgia when you're furthering a
Nostalgia.
story
Yes.
is not wise, such as I will say in Star Wars. Now I know we differ there, but the last 3 Star Wars movies have been horrid because they tried to rely on nostalgia and a poor storyline.
Right.
With Picard and Star Trek, this is the appropriate time for nostalgia.
Right.
This is the appropriate time to develop the most interesting parts of all the series. You know what the fans want. Just give it to them. What we got from Picard was this horrific storyline that who wrote this? Like what was their thought process behind? Some of the scenes in this show were mind-boggling bad. Just bad. And although I watched the first episode and I knew what I was in store for, I kept hoping it was going to get better. It got slightly better, but then ended in the dumbest way possible.
Oh my God.
So essentially,
in fact, the ending, this is what for me, I could have overlooked the things that I was like, okay. Like, as you're probably going to say, it didn't live up to lots of the potential it showed.
No.
So there's all this stuff out there. I'm like, okay, we didn't go this direction. All right, fine. I'm still with Picard. All right, they didn't go that direction, but I'm still with Picard. I mean, it's still Star Trek. It's still Jean-Luc or JL.
Oh God.
And
JL Cool J.
I was wondering why I always kept licking his lips.
Oh, he's sitting over there. Peace out.
But the final part of this show, did you say spoiler alert? Spoiler alert. Please don't listen if you plan on watching Picard. Which
But
I don't
watch it.
No, I don't.
Don't watch it.
Well, okay. So forget it. Whatever. The last part of the show, I kept like that ruined it for me. I'm like, okay, I could have overlooked everything if it was pointing this show in a new direction. They're like, all right, he did his thing. He did his last hurrah. Here we go. Doctor Who, this rascal, we're out of here. Without watching the show, nobody knows what we're talking about, but go ahead. And then I guess we'll discuss in detail the last part.
Okay. So essentially Picard is reminiscing about the death of Data, and it's really bothering him. And then come to find out, I guess there has been Data had a daughter, 2 twins that were somehow made by Dr. Soon's son. And
those
Picard.
Twins.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yeah. So this whole story of Picard going to try to save Data's daughter was not compelling in the least. It because
we're supposed to be attached to a person we've never met before.
Yeah, and the fact is, we all suffered through Data's death already. Data died in the coolest way possible. There was no long, drawn out, looking somebody in the eye, I miss you, I love you type thing. No, he saved his captain and he sacrificed himself.
He did what he had to do without really even thinking about it.
No, he took care of it. Care of it. That's why everybody loves Data, and everybody loves the fact that Data. When you watch Next Generation, you love Data because you see him struggling to be human, and then he does this human sacrifice type thing for his captain.
The most human thing you can do.
And so now we're supposed to love. We're supposed to love all these other crew members that he has, and they all suck.
Raph, and name another one.
I don't know. There was the
exactly.
There
the Spaniard. I don't know what his name is.
Yeah, he was cool. I like the fact that he had this goofy hologram thing of himself all over the ship. There was supposed to be some sexual tension between him and the blonde Ellen Page looking doctor.
No.
And there wasn't.
The washed out Ellen Page.
The one that made me the maddest was this Romulan samurai that's supposed to be emotional. That guy was completely useless.
Samurai Spock with emotions.
He did nothing. Samurai Spock did nothing.
he saved them that one time on the board cube.
He was completely pointless and negated by another character that they shoehorned in, being 7 of 9, which 7 of 9 was actually that storyline of the Borg and there being a Borg cube and them reclaiming the Borg. That was awesome. Why didn't they have that? Why wasn't that? Everybody knows that Star Trek, when First Contact came out, that was an awesome show. It was the best Star Trek movie. It was the Star Trek bad guy that was the most ultimate. And all the episodes of Star Trek that involve the Borg are almost always the best in terms of just the overarching story. Just have that. You cannot tell me that John Luke being part of the Borg collective was not more traumatic to him than Data's death. Let's focus in on that. Let's have that be the focus of the show. And no, absolutely not.
No.
They kill off. Oh, what's his name?
Q.
Yeah, they kill him off just because, he was probably.
Why not?
He had more range than anybody else in the show. It would have been neat to see him fleshed out. And then we go on this goofy story of. Basically, they took the story of Mass Effect, the video game, and shoehorned it into Star Trek, that there is some sort of cyborg-like race out in the ether that's going to come destroy us all.
MacGuffin planet, where everybody's at.
A MacGuffin ultimate bad guy and a MacGuffin planet, and we show up, and what happens? Oh, Picard dies. He doesn't sacrifice himself.
That's the part of the thing that got me too. He's like, I'm going to sacrifice myself for you, in hopes that she sees how much he cares and how much the humans are willing to do to sacrifice themselves for these new android human crossovers.
Right.
And so he goes up into space, but he doesn't die in battle or anything. He dies from the weird brain thing they decided to give. They wrote into the story that had zero effect on the story, except for when he brings it up and he dies of it in the very end. And then totally negated when he gets resurrected into this new body. They transfer his mind into a new, fresh body. Is it a new, young body? No, it's still Patrick Stewart. It's still Jean-Luc Picard, 80-something years old. Or 90, I forget what they said his actual age was. And I was like, when they brought out that thing, I was like, oh, at first I was like, oh my God. Then I was like, oh, well, maybe they're going to put him into some new person, a Tom Hardy, and they're going to say, this is Jean-Luc Picard off on new adventures, Doctor Who style, got a new body, let's go. No, they put his brain back into his body minus the brain tumor or whatever. And okay, he's got 5 more years.
You got the engine out of this 67 Chevy and you put it right back into the same body.
You scraped off a little rust.
Yeah, there you go. It doesn't have that sound anymore.
I was so angry. I was like, what did they wrote the whole brain thing? They never even describe it, hardly. Very futuristic, vague terms, whatever. Some brain anomaly.
They can grow back limbs. They can save people from being cybernetic life forms, but they can't fix a brain tumor.
That's me.
The thing that upset me the most about this show, and this is where they went wrong. This is where the whole show was derailed very quickly. It was simply when Picard said, I could ask Geordi or Worf and all these guys to come with me, but I know they say yes. I have to get a new crew. That was the dumbest.
They would help writing. Me. I can't use them. They would help me.
I can't. So essentially, I'm going through something pretty epic in my life. Who should I rely on? These new people whom I've never met.
No relationship
for most of them. Or what would the fans rather see? I would have loved to have seen, I don't know, perhaps LaForge, who was Data's best friend, and see what LaForge was up to. And let LeVar Burton come in.
He's too busy reading books.
Yeah, him really flesh out his character. That'd been awesome. If LeVar Burton, if LaForge just retired and all he's doing is sit around and he's a school teacher now, they kind of tied in that reading rainbow thing. That'd been great. And Worf, who doesn't want to see Worf again? Worf is just out teaching jiu-jitsu. That's all it is. He's MMA fighting somewhere.
Drinking prune juice.
All right. So here's my story. Get LaForge, get Worf back. Go get Barkley, the guy that was always in the hologram, the holodeck, doing weird stuff.
Yeah, grew the big brain.
Get the guy who's kind of crazy in there. Address what happened to Beverly Crusher. Did she die? How come she's not? How come her and Picard aren't a thing? Did they have a relationship and they break up, or did she die? I don't know. He literally never mentioned her. That makes me angry. Slightly.
And they never mentioned Wesley. How angry does that make you?
Shut up about Wesley. Nobody cares about Wesley. Oh, yeah.
He was on the after show.
Even the after show.
He didn't make the main show.
You know what we need to do? We need to have an after show where we talk about Wesley talking about the show. Be like, shut up, Wesley. Wesley doesn't know.
Is there anyone more smug
than Wesley? I can't think of any. None are coming to mind.
He's so smug.
Oh, Lord. Anyways,
beard.
So you could even tie in some other interesting characters from other episodes and other shows of Star Trek, other spinoffs. I would have loved to send Captain Sisko show up somewhere. What is he up to? He was pretty cool.
Well, it's not a behind Star Trek. Where have they been?
I know, but here's the thing. They could have done that. I would have been satisfied if they would have just said.
It's very clear. Patrick Stewart simply didn't want that. This was Patrick Stewart's thing. He was in charge. So apparently he didn't want his old buddies back.
Who did he hire to write this show? Why?
I can tell you the writer. It's on Wikipedia.
Care. Well, you could Wikipedia that. I'm pretty sure Enrique could come up with a better story than this. Star Trek Picard.
Writing.
I mean, just
the series is Kurtzman revealed that the series would find that is it Alex Kurtzman hoped would reinforce Goldsman. I don't know. They say all these names. I don't know who wrote it. Alex Kurtzman, maybe. Written by. I don't know. It says written by.
They don't even know.
Who did this? Well, the first episode, there's a bunch of people on it. Alex Kurtzman, James Duff, Akiva, Michael Chabon. Michael Chabon's the main dude. I think he was kind of the showrunner as well. So yeah, but for me, the biggest, stupidest thing was, he didn't sacrifice his life to save the androids. It's just that his brain thing kicked into gear. I mean, yes, he died, but it was because of his brain thing, not because he sacrificed his life for the androids. And B, him getting put back into his old body, that blew my mind. I was like, okay, so Patrick Stewart is an old person. He's an old actor. You can't really count on him. Something might happen between this season and next season. So they're going to make Picard this young strapping man. They're going to shoot Picard off on these new adventures. I would have been down for that. I would have been, you know what? It's not Star Trek really. It's just Picard, and this body is basically Doctor Who, but I'm down for it. I like Doctor Who, but they stuck him in the same body. That blew my mind. Like when I saw that, I was like, oh, I can't. Oh, wait. That's Patrick Stewart. Wow. But now without a brain tumor, hemorrhage, whatever.
I'm serious. They had absolutely no clue what they were doing. I mean, absolutely.
One other thing that irritated me in his dream sequence there with, it's his heaven, I guess, or whatever the heck it was, when he's talking to Data, and Data says, or they're talking about basically the end of life and they're trying to be very philosophical, which Star Trek, Next Generation, all that them shows were like, they has spoke a lot about this and that. This one was trying way too hard because he's in his dream sequence and they're talking about Picard being old and Data dying, and Picard says,
"You wanted me to do you a favor."
"Yes, sir. When you leave, I would be profoundly grateful if you terminated my consciousness."
"You want to die?"
"Not exactly, sir. I want to live however briefly, knowing that my life is finite. Mortality gives meaning to human life, Captain. Peace, love, friendship, these are precious because we know they cannot endure. Butterfly that lives forever is really not a butterfly at all.
Very well. I will do what you ask.
What?
I'm serious. This is some of the worst writing I've seen in a long time.
What? So y'all want to die? I don't want to die. I mean,
I don't want to die.
if you
I'll
get
take
very old and sick and have issues, I mean, I'm not there yet, but I'm sure if that happens, that's different. But I don't want to die. I don't want to. That was that philosophy thing. Just I was like, what? Why are y'all saying a butterfly that lives forever is not a butterfly? Why? Why is it not a butterfly? That explains nothing. Why is that butterfly not a butterfly? It lives forever. You've not answered my question, sir. You've not answered my question.
Some of the worst writing I'd seen in a long time was some characters that there was some. So just keep the characters that you have. They had an opportunity to really flesh some of them out and to have some interesting characters. They're obviously going to have a season 2. I don't know what they're going to do with it. I will be interested in seeing how they drag this out, but it ran completely contrary to what Star Trek was really all about. It did not feel like Star Trek to me. There was Star Trek in it with the characters and some of the stuff, but it missed the point of Star Trek.
Star Trek is usually like a celebration of, life and exploration and this and that. This was like trying way too hard to be more dark, and like Picard's, he's been scarred by the way things have gone, disillusionment, all this stuff, which there's plenty of shows for that, but that's not Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Star Trek's the future. There's hope. There's things have been fixed and cured, and there's a federation of planets. People are getting along, and this was trying hard to like make. To me, it just wasn't Star Trek. It had Picard. It had the names. There was lots of name dropping. The coolest thing was Riker showing up in that cool ship, and he was all cool, leaned over, all cocky.
Because he's had a stroke. I'm pretty sure he's had a stroke. That's why he leans that way.
No. He directed a lot of these episodes, I think, or at least a couple of them. Jonathan Frakes, love that guy. Riker, love that guy. He shows up in that ship. Oh. Another thing, severely disappointing. They have all these amazing new Starfleet ships show up to fight these Romulans. And he's like, Riker literally says, basically, I hope you do test me. I hope you do try to fire on that planet. Like, he wanted to fight. And I was like, oh man, we're going to see an epic fight that we never got to see in those old cheesy 80s, 90s graphics. We're going to see it in the modern. No.
They ran out of money.
No. They just copied and pasted the ships. And nothing happened. Nothing happened.
It was awful.
I wouldn't say it was awful.
No, it was awful. No, I truly think it was awful. I have been, if I had to rank them right now, watching Star Trek Discovery, I have somewhat been more enthralled with it than I have Picard. And here's the thing. I'm going to give Star Trek Discovery season 2 a chance just to see if it can break free from this trap that it has. Cause it's trying to be edgy. It doesn't need to be edgy. It needs to be Star Trek.
Let's make this edgy. Let's say the F word.
Oh yeah. Like what's the deal with these shows that they think that's edgy. That's not edgy. That's not interesting. It's a Star Trek. Star Trek's supposed to be about this culture, people going on adventures, you developing and seeing this arc of the characters develop themselves and their
It's supposed to be
friendships.
about humanity developing beyond where we're at now.
And we ain't, and I mean, apparently where we're at now is that we really hate androids.
Yes. And
And-
like Raph and the other guy were smoking and drinking the whole time, which there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I don't like how everybody in Next Generation had their act together. We don't even have money. And we kind of do our own thing, and now it's all of a sudden it's like everybody has a substance abuse problem.
Everybody's
and
got
PTSD.
issues.
Everybody had PTSD.
Well, is that, I mean, I
To
guess.
all writers currently writing any shows, having people curse, have substance abuse, or PTSD does not make your show edgy. That's
Or
Baltimore.
original. It's been
That's
done.
yes. It's been done.
But I mean,
It's
is that
terrible.
a sign of the times? That's just
I
the sign
guess.
of the times we live in. Like, that's what people think about,
what's-
talk about. I mean, everybody has issues. So, like, we need the characters people can relate to. So we need to make these characters that have the same issues. But the people were the same in the 80s and 90s, but the shows weren't like that. They gave us hope.
Yeah.
Like, I liked Star Trek Next Generation because you know what? I can go here and it's an escape, and look at this future world where they ran into some problems, but they fixed it with positive thinking, positive actions, friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just
We were not
It's
fans.
terrible.
Hey, Picard, not BGS approved,
no, not by any means.
and that's why we decided
by-
not to do a pod snap over this thing, because after we had watched the whole thing, we're like, it's not episode by episode, not enough happened, or not enough happened that we even cared about. B, the overall story is like, no, I don't want to. Mandalorian blew this out of the water as far as episodic
even-
television.
And that's what I mean. Episodic television. You could pull it off and you can do it right. And Mandalorian's that's a great example of that.
It had
But
a few stumbles, but overall, great TV show. Funny, engaging. You felt good when you was watching it. I didn't get any of that from Picard,
nope.
aside
Nope.
from some of the forced nostalgia. And even 7 of 9, she's like jaded and disillusioned. I was like, everybody in the
Yeah.
show has become jaded and disillusioned. I've got enough of that in the world. Why do I
Well,
need that in Star Trek?
I'm jaded and disillusioned with this subject. I'm done. I got to get off here.
Okay.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and everything else. boardgamesnobs@gmail.com. I'm disillusioned.
Me
I'm
too.
done.
Me too. Me too. Okay.
I'm done.
I'm not going to get off of here and cry. I'm not.
I'll see you later, GM.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Board Game Snobs. Stay classy.